Notre Dame escapes Penn State 27-24 after it really looked like Notre Dame was outmatched for a good bit of this football game until they're able to turn it around in the second half. Give me some of your takeaways on this one, Alan.
I thought that um,
Four picks there
Jeremiah
for
Love
Herbert.
would have
Jesus.
been. I thought Jeremiah Love would have been a little bit more of a factor in this game. I did. He said he wasn't going to hurdle, and then he ended up doing it. Um, which you know, but like I said, they're 11th in rushing overall.
Yep.
So I thought Love was, like I said, going to be more of a factor, but I also thought that this game would be won in the trenches for sure
Yeah.
because Penn State's defensive front is nasty. They can get
Yep.
a hold of a quarterback so fast. And Riley Leonard did not play his best game, but somehow, some way, they scraped the bottom of the barrel and figured out how to win. And I think that's part of the coaching prowess of Marcus Freeman. Um, happy
For
birthday to
sure.
him. And also Mitch Jeter, man, that guy's going down in Notre Dame history. He won him.
Oh, yeah.
He won him the Orange Bowl. You know, but like I said, you got Xavier Watts back there on defense and for Notre Dame. That guy's scary. He's like a heat-seeking missile when it comes to a football being thrown his way. He's gonna go grab it if he can.
Yeah.
Um, just like I said, it was just a great defensive matchup, and I knew it would be. And I had a feeling Notre Dame was going to come
Yep.
away with this by at least 3 to 7 points. My original prediction was 24-17 Notre Dame. But Penn State looked
Yeah.
in control.
I was 21.
Yeah, Penn State looked in control for the majority of the game until the third quarter. That's when everything starts to turn around for Notre Dame. They
Uh-huh.
score 3 points in the first half. Um, then they're not happy. They're not satisfied with that. And they turn
Right.
it around in the fourth quarter and they just get it done. And I think the two best teams are truly moving on to
Oh,
the
yeah.
national championship. It's not like one of those, well, that's not really the two best teams. No, I really think these are the two best teams, top to bottom.
For sure. Yeah, for sure. I'm right there with you, man. I really think that we do have the two best teams left playing for the national championship on January 20th in Georgia. Emery says, who y'all got, Ohio State or Notre Dame? I'm just going to keep it short and sweet. I'm taking Ohio State to win it all.
I'm taking Ohio State to win it all too. They just ever since that Michigan loss, they unlocked something. They're channeling something.
Yeah,
I don't
yeah.
know what it is.
Again, the Michigan loss was the best thing that could have happened to them. We'll
When they
actually be
pimp smacked
giving our
Tennessee, I was
picks
like, oh, it's
on.
over.
Oh yeah, man. I felt like that when they handled Oregon.
Yeah,
I really thought you and I talked about a couple of times Oregon Georgia national championship, especially with the way the black bracket was playing out. I mean, it was hard not to look at that. But yeah, Emery. So those are going to be our picks. We're both taking Ohio State. If you tune into next week's show, what day is that going to be? It's going to be on Tuesday. Obviously, we're going to be doing the show. It's going to be on the 14th. We'll be discussing the national championship, chopping it up, really giving our in-depth takeaways, and then of course the following Tuesday, the day after the game, we'll be able to give you our recap and review that. Let's jump into the Orange Bowl. Notre Dame able to escape, like I said, 27-24 over Penn State. And this was a game where it really felt like Penn State was absolutely in control in the first half. I mean, Notre Dame didn't seem like they could keep up with anything. And you had both teams blitzing early on to really disrupt, the game plan. I was a little confused when Penn State had the fair catch at the 2-yard line. I really
yeah, me
expected
too.
Notre Dame on that drive to bring the house, and they did somewhat. And Penn State's backfield is just so dynamic, man. I mean, Kaytron Allen balling out, getting them out of the pin deep in their own territory when they did have the fair catch. And Notre Dame's secondary was very airtight early on. They were not making it easy for Penn State, for Drew Aller. And I knew this was going to be a battle of the run game, battle of third downs, and both of these teams were executing and defending it. I felt like very well through most of the game. One Achilles heel of Notre Dame was the fact that they were the worst in the country at 3rd and 7+ yards, only converting 15% of those actual situations. And you see they bring the pressure on Riley Leonard. He throws an awful interception. And I think the resiliency of Notre Dame in this game, knowing they lost a turnover battle, knowing that they were down 2 offensive linemen, knowing that we were worried about a potential Riley Leonard scare coming out of the first half, leading into the
Mhm.
second half. And they were just able to overcome every bit of that. I mean, even the fact that they were gashed for over 200 rushing yards by Penn State. It was literally the Nick Singleton, Katron Allen
Mhm.
show. And Penn State was very
Till
aggressive in
Jaden
this game. I
Greathouse
mean, on
showed up.
fourth down, yeah, Great House absolutely breaking ankles. And that was a pivotal part for Penn State. I mean, having your defensive back fall down, such a tough
Yeah.
break. But Penn State was aggressive. They've been aggressive on fourth down the last 5 games, going for it 33% of the time. They did get cost a touchdown. Drew Aller throws low and inside on Nick Singleton, so that did cost them a score there. And Penn State overall was pretty good at making Riley Leonard a non-factor with his legs. He had 18 carries for 35 yards, so just under 2 yards a carry. If you would have told the Penn State fans, if you would have told James Franklin that, the defensive coordinator, they would have been very happy with it. But I can't lie, Alan. I thought Drew Aller kind of, got it going a little too late because he
Mhm.
started out 2 for 2 on screen passes, and then he ended up 2 for 10 on his other throws to start the game. And I don't know if you knew this, Penn State wide receivers had 0 catches for 0 yards in this game. It's the first time all season that a wide receiver in a team in the Power Four has had no catches for no yards on wide
He's
receivers. I mean, that's been the problem for Penn State.
Yeah.
That's been the huge problem for Penn State. When your tight end leads you in receiving yards, when your
That's
running back
Tyler
leads you in
Warren,
receiving
isn't it?
yards at one point, when you're yeah, Tyler
Yeah.
Warren. When your quarterback is leading you in rushing yards, like in some of the earlier games this year, and that absolutely reared its ugly head. And I emotionally picked Penn State after Notre Dame defeated my Bulldogs. So once you started looking at these rosters, I'm like, Andy Kotelnicki, it's like he forgets that he has wide receivers sometimes. And
Yeah.
again, don't get me
You
wrong
you got
about
a
Notre
quarterback
Dame
that can throw a
being
mean
one of the
deep
best
ball. I
defenses.
mean,
Yeah.
utilize that. Draw up
Hmm.
some routes.
Exactly. Exactly. You got to do more than just send your tight end out there because Notre Dame was going to pick up on that.
Yeah.
Again, this is the defense in college football that leads the nation in takeaways, and they lead the nation in points off takeaways by a wide margin. So, the fact that they weren't able to tap into that specialty, but still were able to, of course they do force the bad interception on Drew Aller. They were still able to, come away victorious and hold those wide receivers to no
Right.
catches for no yards is just really remarkable. And you had Penn State again, just gashing them on the run game, especially on the edges. Notre Dame just looking outmatched early on, and Penn
Yeah.
State was,
Nick
2 red zone
Singleton's a
trips, 2 scores.
monster.
So I'm like, okay, is this really going to be the moment where Penn State just really goes forward? And they were all over Riley Leonard in the first half. I mean, the offense couldn't get anything going. And when you're down, again, 2 offensive linemen, your quarterback is potentially hurt. Penn State was smelling blood in the
Oh,
water.
yeah.
They see Steve Angeli come in as the backup, and they're like, okay, we got these guys right the hell where we want them. They're pinning their ears back. They almost get a strip sack. And then, Riley Leonard comes out. He's good to go. And correct me if I'm wrong, that was probably the moment that Notre Dame won the game. Because I
Yeah.
believe if Riley Leonard is not in there with his fierce competitive spirit, I mean, you tell me, do you think Notre Dame has any sort of shot if Riley Leonard's not able to go in that second half? Because even Marcus Freeman said less quarterback design runs, but the same game plan. You believe that's true?
Uh, what was the question again? I'm sorry.
It's a tough call, isn't it? No, you're good. If you didn't see Riley Leonard in the second half, knowing that Marcus Freeman said the game plan was going to be the same, just less quarterback design runs, do you think Notre Dame would have had a shot to win it the way that they
No,
did?
not at all. Riley Leonard is a fierce competitor, man. He really is. I've known
Yeah.
that since I wanna call back to
The
yeah,
Duke
the
days.
Duke game last year against Florida State. That guy would not lay down. I was
Hmm.
like, "Please,
Nope.
just go away." And he would it's the ropes
Yeah.
that kept coming back, dude, and that's one thing I can say about Riley Leonard. He threw those 2 ugly interceptions, but it didn't stop him. He didn't get in his head. That's one thing
Yep.
I can give him.
Yep.
Uh,
Hmm.
but yeah, he's just a fierce competitor, man. And I think
Yeah.
Notre Dame, like, if you tell me that Notre Dame's going to win the national championship, I'm not going to question it too much, just because they have
Right.
been
They've
known
proved a
to
lot.
make some weird stuff happen. Like nobody thought they were going to
Yep.
beat Georgia, and they
Right.
did.
And they
And
handled them.
nobody, and a lot of people were questioning the Penn State, and here they are.
Yep.
Here we are.
Yep.
So they're
Yeah.
capable of a whole lot. Don't count them out.
Right.
Just Ohio State's
They're hella
big bag
resilient,
and
man, and you have
scary. I
to.
think that's what they have going for them.
Yeah, as Joe Klatt's saying, they're like the supernova Death Star of college
Pretty
football
much.
right now, and who's gonna be able to get out of the way of
Yeah.
that
It's
death
like a damn
beam,
steamroller coming down
essentially.
here.
Yeah, 100%, and, we definitely saw a different Texas against Ohio State than we did against Arizona State, and it's a very good possibility that we're gonna see similarities, but also some differences as Ohio State and Notre Dame go to face off in a national championship. But you see Notre Dame in the second half. They get a big completion to get things started. They march down the field. They punch it in. They get the field goal before the half. So they boom, just like that. They tie the game up. They turn around, get a 3-and-out on Penn State, which is absolutely
Yeah.
huge. And then, they're bringing the house. Now they're absolutely bringing the house on Penn State. And again, it was kind of like that third quarter for Texas. You see the third quarter, the entire second half for Notre Dame. They're clawing back. They're in this game now. It's 10-10 going into the fourth quarter. And it's kind of how I saw it playing out. I had a 21-17 victory, and 27-24 isn't too terribly off. And just like that, Notre Dame from 10-0 to 17-10, 17 unanswered points. I feel like that's just the definition of Notre
Yeah.
Dame. They put up that barrage of points against Georgia in that 58, 60-second span, and they don't do, really a barrage of points in a short amount of time here. But 17 unanswered in the CFP semifinal, that's 3 possessions
Mhm.
that you're able to
Oh,
come
yeah.
back from.
Abdul Carter, where are you
That's
at?
huge. Or literally, 3 possessions that you're able to essentially score. Obviously over 16 points will give you a 3-possession game. And then here comes Penn State, continue to smash the run game. Obviously, they're getting Warren involved a little bit. I thought it was a great call from the Penn State defense, man. I had to mention this play specifically. They dropped number 33 into coverage as the D lineman. Riley Leonard sees that, throws the interception. Rather, he doesn't
Yeah.
see it. They throw the interception. It's just an amazing protection from the offensive line from Riley Leonard, and he just doesn't see number 33 slip back into coverage. So
It
now
was
Penn
sneaky.
State is +2. Yeah, in the turnover margin. And Notre Dame had 2 interceptions in this game taken away from defensive pass interferences, which they both were correct calls. And the fans were a little classless, throwing shit on the field, but it is what it is. You've got kids at these
Yeah.
games. You got to understand that maybe sometimes
Sometimes
that'll
it
happen. And again, with three touchdowns for Nick Singleton, man, I mean, it was really him and the Katron Allen
Mhm.
show. And that's why I just didn't know if Notre Dame was really going to be able to pick it up. But Penn State, biggest defensive lapse of the night. Great House obviously gets around the defender. He basically waltzes into the end zone. And I think the biggest, kind of factor for Notre Dame being able to turn it around in this one is they were able to run the football. And Marcus Freeman came out and said, we got to be able to run the
Mhm.
ball. We got to be able to establish a line of scrimmage because they had 15 rushing yards in the first half. And this game was a little of a snooze fest. You had 20 combined points in the first 3 quarters, 31 points combined in the fourth quarter for both teams as it just absolutely starts to take off. Obviously, Penn State, their only mistake of the night, which really damned them. They do throw the interception. I don't know if you knew, man, we got to witness the first ever kick in college football playoff history to be made to go ahead on the scoreboard in the fourth quarter. Notre Dame snaps a 19-game losing streak against top 10 teams when trailing at the
Yep.
half. Penn State actually loses its first game in 22 matchups overall in college football when leading at the half. And James Franklin is catching all the
Yeah.
flack. He is now the 3rd worst win percentage in history against AP top fives. He is 1-18 in AP top
Ooh.
5 matchups. Do you think the Penn State AD, do you think the Penn State fans have a right to look at James Franklin's job considering that atrocious record in big time games?
They definitely have a
I know
reason.
he played Oregon close this year
They
too.
definitely have reasoning, but close ain't gonna keep your job for long.
That's
You
right.
gotta get it done eventually, because if not, you're
Yep.
out. That's how the game is nowadays. If you can't win the
Yep.
big one, you gotta go. Somebody else will,
Right. Yep.
and Marcus Freeman's living freaking proof of that. Brian Kelly
Right.
was only a matter of time, I think, before Notre Dame would have said bye, because
Right.
he just wasn't he couldn't get to that point where Marcus is right now. I think that's what Notre Dame really
Right.
needed. Because Brian said, "Oh, I'm going to go to
Mhm.
LSU. I'm going to try to win a national championship." And little did he know his successor is right there on the big stage now. I bet he's kicking himself right
Yep.
now because that was his
Yep.
coordinator.
He's right. Right. He's right there in it.
Yeah,
He's
doing
right
the
there in the
thing you
thick of
couldn't
it.
do.
You got to give it. right.
Well, he went
And
once
you got to
against
give
Alabama, but let's face it, that Alabama team was something else.
yeah. Yeah, they were juggernaut.
That was
That was a tough
AJ
game to watch. I think it
McCarron,
was
I think, at quarterback in
uh
2012.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yep, AJ
That was,
McCarron.
and they ran up a
Wow.
check on them.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember when that was when Aaron Murray, we were in the SEC
Yep.
championship against
Yep.
Alabama, I'm pretty sure, and the ball bounced off the back of the receiver, and he caught it and went down, and the clock ran out instead of him he should have let it hit the ground, and Georgia would have had another chance. That was so
They
just
were right there
painful to
knocking
just
on the
watch
door,
the time.
and they blamed
They
Mark Richt
were.
for it.
They were. Yeah, nah, that was just a
That was
mental
not Mark
lapse
Richt's
at a
fault.
big point. Uh-uh. No, it was, collective efforts of Mark Rick over the years just not being
Oh,
able to get
yeah.
over the hump, and, clearly Kirby has proven that that program is good enough to get to those heights, and I'm super grateful for Kirby Smart.
Absolutely.
Hey, it's AJL here. Appreciate you sticking to the end of the video here on YouTube. You could have chose any other show, but you chose my video, and for that, I'm very grateful. If you haven't already, please make sure to like and subscribe to the channel. Follow me on social media. Hit the bell on the channel so you never miss a post. Check me out on all social media platforms. Right here, you'll find a chance to subscribe to the show, a related video, and a playlist. See you guys in the next one.